Today I'm making Italian tomato sauce from this book, that Moose Wolf cookbook that I've had for a long time. So let's get started with the chopping. I have my onion right here. And I'm gonna wash my pepper. Okay, let's start with the onion. This knife needs to be sharpened. The recipe calls for 2 cups of chopped onion, but I only have this one last little soldier. So that's all that I'm going to chop. In the meantime, I'm going to turn on my stove with a large skillet on it. Anytime I chop onions, my cat goes crazy because he thinks we're gonna make a tuna salad and he's gonna get some tuna. Just not the case in this case at all. So I have, the recipe calls 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and that's what I'm going to add. Although I believe this is avocado oil. Yes. So it's okay. It's quite a bit of oil, so I'm gonna go with just 2 tablespoons. And that should be sufficient, I think. I've made this recipe multiple times. And, you know, I go. Depends on what my mood is. So this is probably maybe half a cup of onion. Okay, so that's, first we're gonna add onion, bell pepper. Okay, bell pepper I have here. And I'm gonna take out the inside. Interesting. Decided to form a mini bell pepper inside. So we're going to use it as well. That has to be diced. Put this in the pan. And then we'll split it in half. And then I need to add herbs and salt. So the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of basil, it's hard to measure this, but we're going to approximate it. Let's say this is 1. Let's be real, you can never go wrong with extra basil. 2, 1 teaspoon of oregano. Okay, and then 1 teaspoon of thyme. Herbs are pretty essential in this recipe. And then I need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay. I'm going to mix this up. And then it says saute over medium heat until the onion is very soft, 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, now while we're doing this, we're gonna switch to the next step, which is tomatoes. I bought San Marzano tomatoes here, and we're gonna use this, the whole, the recipe calls for 1 pound and 13 ounces, which is pretty much this, tomatoes, and then, well, some tomato paste. So, but before I get to this, I'm going to chop my garlic because I need 4 to 6 large garlic cloves, and these are tiny ones, so keep mixing on the side here. Okay. These are my garlic cloves. Alright, I'm going to just take this other knife to peel these. It's kind of a pain when they're so small to peel them. I love my garlic, and so because of that, I think I'm gonna get more garlic. This is not enough. Okay, now this is an appropriate amount of garlic, right? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna set this aside because I need to figure out my tomatoes. So these are gonna be set aside. Okay. Now I have to get a can opener. To get my tomatoes out. Now the recipe also calls for honey. I don't like adding sugar, so I'm not going to do this. Okay, switch back to the pan and put all of this delicious tomatoes in here. The recipe also wants you to break down the actual tomatoes, which is what we're gonna do. Okay. And then I need to add tomato paste. So I have an open can here that I want to use up. I'm gonna just, it's probably a quarter of can left, maybe a little bit more. Okay. And then I will open another can. I'll probably put there another half or so. Okay, we'll save the other half. Okay. Just want to break down that paste and large chunks of tomatoes. Okay. Well, let's see what else. I need black pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of water because I feel like I'm running a bit behind here. So I need a bit of extra time. And water will just help me catch up with the recipe. Okay. Black pepper, it says lots of black pepper. I think this is good. I'm gonna lower my heat a bit more. And then cover this up. Okay. Now back with me here, I need to chop my garlic. So garlic is added 20 to 30 minutes after we go through this. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more water to this so that I can last 20 minutes. But in the meantime, I'm going to go and chop the garlic. This might be a bit of a tedious process. I use also an actual garlic chopper, but there's something about the process that makes it satisfying of chopping the garlic. Let me know if you have the same feeling sometime. It's almost you enjoy the process more when you do things a bit slower. And I'm not in a rush today. Almost the consistency that I wanted. But again, it doesn't have to be super perfect. Okay. Now we're gonna set this aside. And clean up the area while our sauce is cooking down. Another thing I wanted to make today, since I'm making the sauce, is pizza dough. And I'll link the recipe that I'm using in the description. And this is a recipe from King Arthur. I'm using their bread flour as well here. So it calls for 210 grams of bread flour. Let's add that. 210 grams. Okay, perfect. Then I need yeast. Yeast, I need 3 grams or 1 teaspoon. We're gonna go with 1 teaspoon just because the scale doesn't necessarily capture this small weight. I'm just gonna get 1 teaspoon of yeast. Okay. And I use active dry yeast. Then I need sugar and salt. Salt, 6 grams. I think 6 grams will be okay if I weigh it. Okay. Okay, and then it also calls for 4 grams of sugar. I don't have sugar necessarily, but I do have honey. I'm going to use honey instead. I need 4 grams. I'll use this knife. Let's see how this scale can capture that. Okay, this is good enough. That's all the honey we need. Okay, and then I need 152 grams of lukewarm water. 152 grams. Okay, here we go. Okay. Just have to add another 10 grams. Okay. Too much, so we'll get some off. precision, right? And a little bit. Okay, this is good enough. Then, let's see. And then we need olive oil, or in this case, avocado oil, 13 grams. Okay, great. So taking off the scale, that's all we need the scale for, and we are going to mix. And so for mixing, I use my trusty mixer here. The reason I like to use it is because I will still have to use my hands, but if I don't need this dough to stick, might as well. Okay, I think this is good. Now I can use my hand. This acts as a scraper. So we're going to cover this dough for about 30 minutes in a warm spot. Don't know where we're going to find a warm spot in this house, but we'll try, and then we'll resume later. Okay, it's about time we check on our sauce. And it's very nice. It's a bit liquidy than I prefer, so I'm going to keep it open so that some of the liquid evaporates. And in the meantime, it's time to add the garlic. Mix it in. And continue cooking for about another 10 minutes. Beautiful. Great acidity. Could be balanced by some honey though, so maybe the recipe was right. I'm gonna get back my honey. And it had 1 tablespoon of honey, but I'm not gonna go that far. No, that's not honey. Peanut butter. Nope, same color, but let's get the honey. Okay, just adding a little bit, not a full tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon of honey to this mixture. And mixing it in. Sometimes balancing these flavors involves a lot of things. Sweet, sour, acidity, right? And I can't say that I'm a pro in that. My rule of thumb is to avoid sugar when I can, but in these small quantities it really doesn't matter. Okay. I'm gonna cover that, and we'll go another 10 minutes until this guy is all cooked. Now, another thing the recipe calls for is minced parsley. Fortunately, I don't have minced parsley, so that's going to be the end for this recipe. No more ingredients will be added to this. Well, it's been about 10 minutes, and the sauce is in the consistency that I want. Not too liquidy, not too thick, and it will thicken once it cools down as well. And all the peppers are nicely cooled. It's ready for some pasta, and I'm also going to use this sauce to make my pizza sauce with the remainder container of that paste, because pizza sauce has to be a bit thicker than this. All right. It's been 30 minutes, and now I have to do a bowl fold, which basically using some water and stretching the dough onto itself. And it's pretty sticky, still very sticky. I'm supposed to do that. A couple of times. Very squishy. It's definitely already some gluten structure forming, which is fantastic. Okay, I think I'm done. And I'm putting this down, seam down, in this like a bowl shape. We're gonna wait another half an hour and continue with this. All right, I gotta be honest, I could not wait an hour. It's been 40 minutes and I already started on my first pizza, and I spread it on pre-oiled cast iron, and this is going to be my first pizza. The other 3 are still here, so I'm going to make 2 in this batch, and one I'm going to make on a pizza stone that's already in the oven, and the other one will be on this, so it's going to be interesting how it turns up. Okay, so I used my beet knife to cut some cheese. That's why it's red. Unintentionally. And I'm going to make a couple of slices more. Okay. Alright, and then I'm going to put some of this sauce. I basically mixed the sauce that we had from the pasta sauce and with the remainder of that paste. We'll see how this is going to work. It's really thick, which is how it should be, I believe. Okay. And then we're gonna top with, I don't have mozzarella, but I do have the smoked cheese as well. So I'm just gonna top with more cheese. Different kind. Now, the problem with the smoked cheese is that it doesn't melt great. So I'm doing it in thin kind of pieces. And I'll also do a little bit more of this cheddar. Ideally, you'd use mozzarella, but guess what? We're not gonna have that available. So that is it for this one. I'm still preheating the oven to 500. Now, this is what these look like. Okay. So, I think I'm trying to do think of what's the best way. I think I'm gonna get another parchment paper because I really don't have a transfer sheet, I guess. So I'm going to, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Unless, actually, I might just cover this in cornmeal. That's it. And I'm gonna make the pizza on here and then slide it onto my baking stone. I've never used baking stone before, so it's going to be interesting. Let's get the dough. Okay, here's our dough. I'm gonna wet my hands a bit and kind of spread it. I say the dough is quite ready. I think. And these are supposed to be bite-sized pizzas, so that's why they're so small. Kind of mini pizzas. Okay, I think this is good. I don't want to get it for it to get too thin. Okay, then I'm gonna cut my cheese. Okay, and this is just regular. It's a lot of cheese. So good. Okay. And the tomato paste. It's going on top. It's very disfigured. I think if I waited a little bit longer, and the dough would relax a bit more and wouldn't contract as much. So if you have the time, the patience, wait a little bit longer. But I don't. to put some mushrooms on it, but I don't have any. Okay, this is gonna be my small pizza, and the other two doughs I will be freezing, I think, or just refrigerating. So I think I'm gonna put another parchment paper here to separate them and put it in the fridge. So we'll see what happens. Now we're waiting until the oven actually gets preheated. Okay, it's time. So this will go first on the top. And now is the more challenging part, is to actually load stuff on this baking stone. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. There we go. Oh, this was very good. There we go. Just like that. We'll see what happens. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. Let's see what we've got here. This one looks good. I can take this one out now. And this one looks good too. So I'm gonna shut off this. And then I'm gonna get one of the spatulas here. Let's see if this will work. To get this off. Perfect. It's really hard to do it holding the camera. Hold on. All right, here we go. As I mentioned, this cheese didn't really melt that great, but looks still quite good.